I was never the protagonist. This is the story of a man who believed he was in control of his life until he realized he had been following a path chosen by someone else. A story about choices, time, and what happens when you understand everything too late. Elias woke up to the soft noise of traffic outside his window. The morning light slipped gently through the curtains, and the air carried that quiet, familiar feeling of a home just waking up. For a moment he kept his eyes closed, wondering if he was still inside a dream. But the weight of the blanket reminded him this was real. There was nothing unusual, and yet something inside him had never felt completely right. It wasn't anxiety. It wasn't pain. It was something subtle, almost invisible. A quiet feeling that followed every decision he made. Every movement, every step felt slightly out of place, as if he was walking on a path that had already been drawn by someone else. He got up slowly and walked into the kitchen. A cup of coffee was still there, faintly warm, left on the counter from the night before. He sat down and watched the thin steam rise and disappear into the air. For a moment he allowed the silence to surround him. There was comfort in that silence, but also something unsettling he couldn't ignore. In the hallway, something caught his attention. The door to the next room was slightly open. He was sure he had closed it the night before. There was nothing inside. No sign of anything unusual. And yet the feeling remained. Something was off. It was as if the house itself was watching him. As if it was trying to remind him of something he had forgotten. He got dressed slowly, without rushing. Every small action, tying his shoes, picking up his phone, glancing out the window, felt strangely important. Details he had ignored for years suddenly felt alive. The coffee had gone cold, but he didn't throw it away. He kept looking at it, trying to understand why everything felt different that morning. When he stepped outside, the world felt slightly altered. People walked past him in familiar patterns, predictable smiles, repeated gestures, words that felt already spoken. But then he noticed the details. A man at the crosswalk staring at the sky for no reason. A woman searching through her bag as if she had lost something important. A dog that kept staring at him, just a little too long. Small things, almost nothing, and yet enough to make him feel observed, as if the world itself was testing him. At work, the feeling didn't go away. Emails already opened on his screen. Messages that seemed to anticipate his replies. Colleagues walking in without knocking, saying things he didn't remember ever writing. Everything felt slightly out of sync, as if his life had never truly belonged to him. Not completely. Then, that morning, a message appeared on his screen. You know you're not the one writing your story, right? Elias froze. No sender. No explanation. No way anyone could know what he was thinking. A cold feeling ran through him. It wasn't fear. It wasn't panic. It was recognition. As if something deep inside him had always known, and was only now coming to the surface. He sat down slowly, unable to look away from the screen. For the first time, everything started to connect. The empty days, the choices he never really questioned, the small compromises he had accepted without thinking. All of it came together into one clear, uncomfortable truth. The life he thought he was living had never truly been his. Elias took a slow breath, trying to hold on to something real. But deep down, he already knew this was only the beginning. Elias remained seated in front of the screen, staring at the message. The words didn't move, didn't change, and yet they felt heavier with every second. There was no sender, no notification, no trace of where it came from, only a sentence that refused to leave his mind. He leaned back slowly, trying to convince himself it didn't matter. Just a glitch, just a mistake, something easy to ignore. But his eyes drifted to the wall beside him. A calendar. One of the dates was circled in red. Elias frowned. He stood up and walked closer. The mark was clear, intentional, drawn with pressure, and yet he had no memory of ever doing it. He stared at it longer than he should have. There was something important about that day. He could feel it, not in his thoughts, but somewhere deeper, like a memory that had been pushed away. He stepped back. The room suddenly felt smaller. He needed air. Outside, the city moved like it always did. Cars passed. People talked. Life continued. But something had changed. Elias wasn't walking through the city anymore. He was watching it. Every movement felt slightly delayed. Every voice felt distant. Every face unfamiliar in a strange way. As if everything around him had always been like this. And he was only noticing it now. Then he saw him. An old man, sitting alone on a bench. A worn coat, a simple hat, and a small notebook resting on his lap. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting there. But he was looking directly at Elias. Not casually, not by chance, like he had been waiting. Elias hesitated for a moment, then walked toward him. Before he could say anything, the old man spoke. "You're starting to see it, aren't you?" Elias froze. The voice was calm. Too calm. "What do you mean?" he asked. The man didn't answer immediately. He turned a page in his notebook, slowly, carefully. Then he said, "Most people never notice. They live, they choose, they decide. Or at least, that's what they believe." He finally looked up. "But you're beginning to understand." Elias felt something tighten in his chest. "I don't understand anything," he said. The old man gave a faint smile. "That's the first honest thing you've said today." Silence fell between them. The noise of the city faded into the background. Elias sat down next to him, almost without realizing it. "Tell me what's going on," he said quietly. The man closed the notebook. "Your life," he said, "feels normal to you, doesn't it?" Elias didn't answer. "Your choices feel like yours. Your decisions feel real. Your path feels intentional." A pause. "But think carefully," the man continued. "How many of those choices did you truly question?" Elias looked down at his hands. Memories started to surface. The job he accepted without thinking too much. The opportunities he ignored because they felt inconvenient. The words he didn't say because it was easier to stay silent. Small things. At least that's what he had always believed. "The important decisions," the old man said softly, "are rarely made in the moment." Elias looked up. "They're shaped long before you even realize it. By people, by expectations, by fear." Another pause. "And by the time you think you're choosing..." He leaned slightly closer. "The path is already decided." Elias felt a cold weight settle inside him. "No," he whispered. But even as he said it, he knew something was wrong. Because deep down, it felt true. He stood up suddenly. "I don't believe this," he said. The old man didn't react. "You don't have to," he replied calmly. "You've already lived it." Elias took a step back. The world felt unstable, too quiet, too controlled. He looked around, searching for something, anything that felt real. But everything looked the same, exactly the same. When he turned back, the old man was gone. No footsteps, no sound. Just an empty bench. Elias stood there, frozen, his heart beating faster now. The message, the calendar, the man. None of it made sense. And yet, it all pointed to the same thing. For the first time in his life, Elias felt it clearly. Not confusion, not fear. Loss of control. And somewhere deep inside, a thought began to form. Quiet, but impossible to ignore. What if it was already too late? The next morning, Elias woke up earlier than usual. Not because he wanted to, but because he couldn't stay still anymore. The message, the old man, the feeling that something in his life had never truly been his. It was still there, stronger now. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. For the first time, he didn't want to follow his routine. Not today. He stood up, walked to the mirror, and stopped. Something felt different. Not outside. Inside. For years, he had looked at himself without really seeing anything. Just a reflection, a face, a person moving through life. But now, he was looking for something, and he wasn't sure it was there. That morning, Elias made a decision, a real one. Not something automatic, not something expected, something uncomfortable. He didn't go to work. No message, no explanation. He just didn't show up. At first, it felt strange. Then, it felt right. For the first time in years, the day wasn't already planned. There was no structure, no script, just silence. He walked through the city without direction. Every step felt uncertain, but real. He noticed things he had never paid attention to. The way people avoided eye contact. The way conversations repeated themselves. The way everyone seemed busy, but not present. It was like watching a pattern from the outside. Then his phone rang. He stopped, looked at the screen. Marina, his boss. He let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped. A message appeared. "Where are you? This isn't like you." Elias stared at those words. "This isn't like you." Exactly. For a moment he felt something close to freedom. But it didn't last long. By the afternoon, things started to shift. His bank app sent a notification. A payment he was expecting wasn't there. An email arrived. Short, cold. "Due to your absence, we will need to reconsider your position." Elias felt his chest tighten. This was real now. Not a thought, not a theory, a consequence. He kept walking, faster this time, trying to hold on to that feeling from the morning, that sense of control. But something was slipping. Later that day, he went to see Sophia, the only person he felt he could talk to. She opened the door slowly, looked at him carefully, not surprised, not confused, almost like she had been expecting him. "I needed to see you," Elias said. His voice wasn't steady anymore. Sophia nodded slightly. "Of course you did," she replied. Something in the way she said it felt wrong. "I think something's happening," Elias continued. "I think my life. I don't think it's been mine." Sophia didn't interrupt, didn't react. She just listened. And then she said something that made everything stop. "It's not that it hasn't been yours," she said quietly. "It's that you never really took it." Elias frowned. "What does that mean?" Sophia looked at him for a long moment. "You had chances," she said. "More than you remember." A pause. "You just didn't choose them." The words hit harder than anything else so far. Memories started to come back. moments he had ignored, opportunities he had delayed, things he told himself he would do. Later. Later. There is no later, Sophia said softly. Not the way you think. Elias stepped back slightly. His breathing became heavier. So what now? He asked. Sophia didn't answer immediately. Then she said, You're trying to take control now, but you're not starting from the beginning. Another pause. You're starting from what's left. Silence. Elias felt it, fully. That quiet, terrifying truth. He hadn't just lost control. He had lost time. And time doesn't come back. He walked away, without saying anything else. The city felt different now. Heavier. Real. That night, Elias didn't sleep. Not because he couldn't, but because he finally understood something he had avoided his entire life. You don't lose your life all at once. You lose it slowly. Choice by choice. Day by day. And by the time you try to take it back, there might not be enough left. The night passed slowly. Elias didn't sleep. He lay there, eyes open, staring into the dark, replaying every moment of his life as if it could still change something. Every choice, every delay, every time he said, later. The word felt different now. Empty. Morning arrived, quiet and indifferent. The same light entered the room. The same sounds filled the air. Everything looked exactly the same. But something inside him was gone. His phone vibrated. A message. Short. Cold. We've made a decision. He didn't need to open it. He already knew. For a moment, Elias sat still. Not reacting. Not thinking. Just sitting. Then he stood up and walked to the mirror again. He looked at himself. Really looked. And for the first time, there was no confusion. No doubt. Just clarity. I had time, he whispered. Not anger. Not regret. Something deeper. Truth. He remembered everything now. The opportunities he ignored because they felt uncomfortable. The conversations he avoided because they felt difficult. The paths he didn't take because they felt uncertain. He had always thought there would be another moment. A better one. A safer one. But life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It moves. With or without you. Elias walked outside. The city was alive, just like every other day. People rushing, talking, living. Nothing had stopped. Nothing had paused. It never does. He walked past places he knew, faces he had seen 100 times. And for the first time, he understood something with absolute certainty. This world had never needed him to be present, only to be there. And that had been enough, for everyone else, but not for him. He stopped at a crosswalk. The light was red. People stood beside him, waiting, silent, predictable. Elias looked at them. Then he looked ahead. For a brief moment, he thought about stepping forward, choosing differently, breaking the pattern. But the thought faded, slowly. Not because he couldn't, but because he finally understood. You don't become the protagonist in a single moment. You become it, over time, through choices, through action, through courage, repeated, again and again. And he hadn't done that. Not when it mattered. The light turned green. People started walking. Elias followed. Same steps, same direction, same rhythm. And as he disappeared into the crowd, one final thought settled quietly in his mind. Not loud, not dramatic, just true. I wasn't the protagonist. And now, there was no time left to become one. Final reflection. Maybe the problem isn't that we don't have time. Maybe we just think we have more than we do. We wait, we delay, we tell ourselves later, as if life is something we can pause and return to. But it isn't. It moves, quietly, constantly. And one day, we look back and realize we were there, but we were never really living it. So the question is simple. Not what do you want from life, but when will you finally start choosing it?